Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Chris, and today we are going to be doing another Q&A. Basically how this works is you guys ask a bunch of questions and I go ahead and I answer them. So we did a Q&A about 6 weeks ago, and so there's a bunch of comments on that video asking questions about me and the city and the channel and all that. And I also asked you guys to ask me more questions on a video from last week. So we are going to be answering those in today's video. So with that being said, there's a number of questions, so we're just going to jump right in. So the first couple questions here are from the channel members. So first off, huge thank you to you guys for directly supporting the channel. If you guys are interested in becoming a channel member, what you get access to is early access to videos, exclusive access to videos, behind the scenes updates, members only polls, and so much more. And so if that's something that you're interested in, I will leave the link down in the description, or you can click the join button next to the channel name. I would really appreciate it if you check that out. But with that being said, the first question is, when is the train track going to get finished and when will we see trains go around it? And subsequently, that second question is, when will the loop be complete? And so those are two separate questions, which I'll explain why in just a second. But as you can see behind me here, the curved track that goes around the expansion table and then right behind me is not connected to the tracks that's right behind the museum. And that is for a reason. That's because the tracks I need a third-party piece for, which I don't currently have yet. I did finally place the order the other day though, so hopefully that should get here within the next week or so, and then I can make a video about it and show you guys what exactly ChrisBricks has to offer, because this is my first time going through and buying third-party pieces, so I'm very curious to see how that works, but that's why I don't have the layout finished yet. So the third-party pieces are the main thing that I need to get the train running around the regular city. But as for the curve going behind me and then going that way, which leads into the second question, the entire loop won't be complete until I get that expansion table in, which ties into a number of other questions, which is essentially, how is that expansion going to work? Because the regular city was 9 feet by 8 feet, and then I expanded it with this table right behind me here. And so technically this is also an expansion table, but I'm planning to add an additional one, which is on the other side of the room. And so with that being said, the studio is going to need to be rearranged a little bit, but I'll save that for its own video, so definitely be sure to stay tuned for that. And so with that being said, that expansion table is going to be pretty large. It's going to be an additional 45 square feet on top of the already existing city, which is nearly 100 square feet. So that's almost a 50% increase in size, which I'm really excited for. And if you guys remember the previous layout, which had a mountain in the back and it had basically everything put onto one table, what this expansion table is for is essentially to kind of separate everything out and just make a little bit more sense, because then I'll have the downtown in its own area and I'll have the ocean in its own area and then the nature and kind of mountainous region in its own section on that other table as well. And so that's kind of my thought process behind it, just so everything has a little bit more space to breathe and I can have more buildings, I can have a bigger area for trains and mountains and things like that. And so I think that's just going to make a little bit more sense. And so that is why I'm doing the expansion table. Still in the R&D phase at the moment, so I'm still trying to figure out the kinks on that. But hopefully soon, in maybe like the next month or two, I'm going to finally pull the trigger. I'm going to buy the wood, the table legs, the whole thing, and then we are going to build it and then get that going on this channel here. So definitely stay tuned for that and make sure that you don't miss out on that, because that's going to be some really awesome content once we get that going and once we start building up that area. But the next question is, what is the best tip for filming? What software do you use and things like that? And so the best tip that I can give for filming and putting stuff on YouTube is to honestly just make more. And it sounds kind of silly, but by making more, by forcing myself to make videos every day, it forces me to get into that mindset of done is better than perfect. And so I'm constantly making videos, constantly thinking about the next thing, and I don't have time to be a perfectionist about every single little detail, because if I was, I would have either never posted my first video, or even if I did, I would have probably made 4 videos total since over a year ago when I started. And with that mindset, you can create some incredible things and create an awesome community. And so again, thank you to you guys for that. This would not be possible without you. But the software that I use is Premiere Pro. If you guys are not familiar, you can actually get a student discount on the entire Adobe suite. So I think it's 20 or 30 bucks a month for the entire Adobe suite. So that gives you Lightroom, Photoshop for the thumbnails, and then Premiere Pro for the actual video editing, and After Effects if you're crazy enough to dabble in that. But that is pretty much what I use. I use the Adobe stuff. That just works for me. But you can use DaVinci Resolve. That is for free out there. So if you want to tackle that, that is also a game changer as well. If you use a MacBook computer or even an iPad, they have iMovie on there, so you could use that. It's a free software. I've never used it, but It seems pretty basic enough. You just throw your clips in there, you chop it up, and then that is pretty much that. So that's pretty much it for video editing at its basics. I use Premiere, but if you're on a budget or you're in school, DaVinci Resolve or iMovie is definitely the way to go. But if you can splurge, I would suggest getting the Adobe Suite so then you have access to Photoshop and Lightroom and stuff. And being a student actually gives you a really decent deal on it. So the next question here is, what does your friends and family think of the city? And actually, my brother and I are really into Lego. And so he actually gives me ideas from time to time on what to do for the layout and stuff. He's more into Star Wars, I'm more into the city layout, obviously. But the rest of the family watches the videos too, and so I'm extremely thankful for that. And my friends also watch these videos too, and they all think it's cool. So again, huge thank you to you guys. It would not be possible without your support. But the next question here is, have you used BlueBrick for planning the train track in the city? And I actually have. I've used it once or twice, and I haven't used it consistently because it's a little bit of an older software and it's not the best for connecting everything together, but it does work, and it does work decently well. And I did actually plan this layout in BlueBrick. I spent about an hour trying to figure it out and also just getting the entire layout down and then planning this layout along with the expansion table layout as well and how that train track is going to look. Obviously, things changed. I wasn't planning on putting the old train engine shed in the city at that time when I was making it, so then I had to modify it, and then I had to modify that curve all the way in the back corner. And so there's a number of other things that changed with it as well, but I have used BlueBrick before. I'll leave the link down in the description if you guys are interested in checking that out. It's free software. It's pretty interesting. It only works on a Windows computer though, so just keep that in mind. If you use a MacBook, it is not going to work for you, unfortunately. But the next question here is, what is your favorite Lego set of all time and why? And this is a tough choice because I have so many favorite Lego sets, like the Orient Express, the UCS Razor Crest, and the Galaxy Explorer from a few years back to celebrate the 90th anniversary of Lego. Obviously, all the modular buildings I'm really partial to. But if I had to pick one set, it would probably be set number 7623, which is the Temple Escape. That is an Indiana Jones set from 2008, and so I got that when I was a kid, and I really like it, and I still have it to this day. And so I keep it on my desk, and I just really enjoy looking at it and just seeing all of its features, and the golden idol and all of the other details along with it as well are really awesome, even to this day. And I actually have it next to the 2023 version of the same scene. But I have them next to each other, and that set just makes me happy, and I've had it for over 15 years now, and so if I had to pick one set, that would probably be it. So the next question is, what is your thoughts on the leaked Gandalf versus the Balrog Book Nook? And I'm actually really excited for this. I'm not going to post a picture because I don't want Lego to come for me and start attacking me or anything like that. But you guys can check out the leak online. The picture's been posted for a while now, and I think it looks great. $120 for a Book Nook is kind of ridiculous though. So I'm trying to see if I'm actually going to pick it up on day one or if I'm just going to wait for a sale. Probably going to wait for a sale because I don't really need it on day one, I don't think. But I still think it's cool nonetheless, and I'm happy that they're actually leaning more towards Lord of the Rings and they're actually bringing it back instead of one set a year that costs hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So hopefully this means that since the price has been going down with each set, we can actually start to get some play scale sets with more minifigures and other things like that, like the Battle of Helm's Deep and other scenes throughout Middle-earth as well. I would really love to see that, but I think the Book Nook is a great start. The Balrog build itself looks pretty good. I would have to see it in a higher resolution in order to make an actual judgment call on it, but I think it looks good, and I'm very happy that they're making more Lord of the Rings stuff, so that's a win for me. And so that question actually leads into the next one, which is, do you keep up with Lego leaks? And the answer is yes. To a certain extent, I do. I don't keep up with every leak. You know, when certain waves of sets get leaked and they say all of the set numbers and the vague prices for each of the set numbers, I don't really care about that so much. But when they start posting actual tangible things about it, like the pictures or like detailed descriptions of the set, that's when I get pretty interested in the Lego leaks, just because I think it's cool, and it also helps me plan out a budget for each of the waves that come out, because obviously Lego has a couple big waves during the year, which is January 1st and August 1st for the winter and summer sets, and then they also have May the 4th, and then they also have different icons and ideas sets popping up throughout the year. So keeping up with those Lego leaks actually helps keep on top of a budget so that I can plan for each release day, and then I can kind of set some money aside and say, I want to pick the Shire up on day one, or I want to save the money that I would be spending on that Book Nook and save it for some of the sets that are coming out in August, because I think those are better and would just make more interesting content for a YouTube video, or I just put that higher on my personal priority list. So the next question here actually ties into one of the previous questions from earlier in the video, which is, would you consider adding more elevation changes throughout the city to improve visual interest? And the answer is yes, I absolutely would do that. I don't know about doing it in the downtown core itself. I have seen other people do it, like Mr. Bookie Boo and even Brixie have put raised platforms in their city to make various levels to be more efficient with the space that they have. And so while I would like to do that here, I have no plans to do that at the moment. My main plans for elevation change are obviously on this expansion table here. As you can see behind me, I don't know if you can actually see it, but I'll put the video in the top right if you haven't seen that video yet where we create the cliff edges for the ocean. I'm really, really happy with how that video turned out, and that's a prime example of some of the elevation change in the city on this main table. And then on the expansion table, like I was talking about earlier, once we move over there, then we are going to actually get some real elevation change in there and not just little stuff like this. We're going to go ahead, we're going to create mountains, we're going to create some valleys maybe. I think that would be pretty cool as well. So we'll get some stuff at this ocean height, we'll get some stuff at the regular table height, and then we'll get stuff even higher than that as well. So I'm really looking forward to that. So that is something to stay tuned for. So make sure to click subscribe and also click the bell notification so you don't miss when all of that stuff drops, because that is going to be some really, really awesome stuff that you're not going to want to miss out on. So the next question here is, would you add lights to your city? And the answer is yes. I do think that is a really good idea, and I would love to do that at some point. But the light kits cost a decent amount of money, and I would rather spend that money on pieces and also things for the city itself. And so while the light kits would be really cool, I wouldn't use them all that often unless it was for a video. And so I think it'd be a better use of my time and money to spend that on actual pieces for the city layout itself, so I can make more buildings or create more train track or cliff edges or things like that. So that's kind of why I haven't gone through with the light kits yet. But while I do plan on doing that, it's just going to be a while before that happens, because like I said, I would rather get the buildings in first, and then once it's done, then I'll go in and I'll add all of the different light kits in, and then we can take a look at it when it's all lit up. I think that'd be really cool, but that's just a lower priority for me at this point in time. So the last question for this video today is, do you plan on getting the Daily Bugle or the Avengers Tower or any of the other Marvel sets? And the answer is yes, I would love to get the Daily Bugle and I would love to get the Avengers Tower. I think those would look great in the back of the city, and they would add a lot of visual interest to the skyline and just give it a lot of height, which I think it really needs at this point in time, because a lot of the buildings are just about the same height. So I think adding the Avengers Tower and the Daily Bugle in the back would look great. And the other modular building, because there's 4 in total so far, is the Daily Bugle, Avengers Tower, and I already have the Sanctum Sanctorum, and the only one left is the X Mansion. I would like to get the X Mansion, but that is just an absurd price to pay for such a small little set, and so it's not actually that small, but for what you're paying, it seems a lot smaller than it should be. The museum is $300 and it sits on the same footprint, but it feels a lot bigger and it feels a lot more worth your money than the X Mansion does. And the X Mansion is $30 more if you're in US prices, so that is something to note as well. I personally don't think the X Mansion is worth it, so if I am to pick it up, it's going to be on sale. Hopefully for Black Friday or for some random deal that LEGO decides to drop. They make the X Mansion like 30% off or something like that. Maybe even 40. I would love to pick it up if it was under $250. I think that would be a fair price for it. You get decent figures, and then you get the Sentinel, and then also the entire X Mansion as well. So I think less than $250 would be a fair price for that. And so with that being said, that is going to wrap up today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure to like it and subscribe, as well as click the bell notification so you don't miss any future uploads. If you guys have any feedback for me, or if you have any other questions, make sure to drop a comment down below, and I will be sure to answer it in the next Q&A. But once again, seriously, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye for now.